Okay, today we are discussing the prior knowledge skills needed for Chapter 7 in Course 3 book. The first thing we're going to be looking at are the square and square roots. So to find the square of 1/6, that is telling you that you're taking 1/6 times 1/6. 1 times 1 is 1. 6 times 6 is 36. So the square of 1/6 is 136. To find the square roots of 81, most people think that the square root of 81 is only 9. Well, that's not incorrect, but if you look here, this is plural because there are two of them. 9 times 9 is 81, but so is negative 9 times negative 9 is also 81. So the square root of 81 is both the positive and negative 9. So that's how you write your answer, both positive and negative 9. Find the square roots of 1/100. You can do this individually by finding the square root of 1 and finding the square root of 100. Remember, anytime that you take the square root of a number, you have both the positive and the negative number. So we have both a positive and a negative. The square root of 1 is 1. The square root of 100 is 10, because 10 times 10 is 100. So my answer there is positive and negative 1/10. The next part that we're going to be looking at is the cube, and cube means taking it times itself 3 times, or what number times itself 3 times will give you our answer. So to find the cube of 5, we take 5 times 5 times 5, which gives me 125. If you see it written, it'll be 5 cubed. And the majority of you do know how to complete this on your calculator. If you don't and you have a question and you want me to show you how to do the cube or cube root on your calculator, make sure you ask. Find the cube of -6. So the cube of -6 would be -6 times -6 times -6. An odd number of negatives would give me a negative answer. 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. So my answer is negative 216. Find the cube root of 1000. The cube root looks like the square root symbol, except for it has a 3 in front of it. So it's the cube root of 1000. What number times itself 3 times will give you 1000? And the answer is 10. On the square root, we had two answers, both the positive and negative worked, but that is not the case in a cube root, because a negative times a negative times a negative would be a negative 1000 instead of the positive 1000. The next thing we're going to look at is find the lengths of AB and CD. The good news about this that makes it easier on these first problems is that they are both vertical and horizontal lines. So you can just count the units between them. So from A to B is 1, 2, 3, 4 units. So how you write it is M stands for the measure of segment AB. That's what the line up above means, is segment. AB is 4 units. Then we look at CD, so from one to the next is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. So the measure of the segment CD is equal to 5 units. Okay, the next part is we are still finding the distance between them, but instead of having them graphed, they're just asking you the length. This example is actually using the example up above, so if AB is graphed, this is what it looks like. Well, if it's not graphed, here are the coordinates. And if you notice, the coordinate on A is -3, 2, and the coordinate on B is -3, -2. So both the x values are the same. So that means it has a vertical change in the y. So to find the difference between the y values, you do 2 minus -2, which gives you the answer of 4 units. So just like up above, when we counted it, you could do it algebraically by finding the difference. So on this last one here, we'd find the difference, and they have y values the same because it's a horizontal line. And we would find the difference between -4 minus 1. That gives me a -5, but we know a length cannot have a negative value, so the absolute value of -5 would be 5 units, which is what we counted up above as well. So you can do it both algebraically or graphing it on a coordinate grid. You have no guided practice for this section, but you do have an assignment. The assignment is Skill Sheets 19 through 21.